Good evening, folks. I'm student meteorologist Dylan Leith here from FSU Weather, and while there is weather going on, it is very hot, and that's the big story for today. Rain chances are picking up for tomorrow with a weak front moving through, but that's going to clear things out. But with those clear skies, you're going to get those hot temperatures. We're going to go look at that later on. But a cooler next week with higher rain chances. So with that rain coming in, you get those cooler temperatures, but it's still muggy and humid outside. So it's not the best. We're seeing a lot of rain, a lot of heat. It is summertime, and today is actually the first official day of summer. Currently 94 degrees outside, mostly cloudy right now. And as we look at the radar, we do see some more shower activity now as that daytime heating is really kicking into effect. But as sunset comes around, things are going to die off and those storms are going to fade out. And here's that front we were talking about in the headlines and your 3-day forecast. 40% chance of rain tomorrow, only a 10 on Saturday and then a 20 on Sunday. But hot is the key word for all 3 days. Jake, now look at the local look.
Thanks, Dylan. We're going to go into a little bit more detail here, starting off with the almanac from today. And we had very sweet relief out here as we were 1 whole degree cooler than yesterday. 97 was our high today as compared to our 98-degree day yesterday, which was our hottest of the year thus far. Still short of record territory set back in 2009, but temperatures are still well above average. That's really been the case all week here around Tallahassee, and the heat is abound pretty much anywhere you look, except for some spots that are experiencing some slight rain cooling, which is why you're seeing some of these numbers in the upper 80s in spots like Perry and Monticello. But everywhere else, we're seeing temps in the low to mid 90s, some spots even getting above the 95-degree point today. As for the dew points, the mugginess is still sticking around. Monticello's seen dew points as high as 80 earlier in the day, currently at 77. Down by the coast, a little bit more moisture at the lower levels, which is what you tend to expect. 78-degree dew points in Perry, St. Mark's, as well as down in Apalachicola, really accentuating that the feeling of heat out there with the heat index. Combining these two metrics together to really give you this 108-degree feels like temperature in St. Mark's. Still feeling like 100 past 6 o'clock here in Tallahassee, and 102 to our northeast in Valdosta. So that heat is penetrating well into parts of Georgia, with these southerly winds helping to funnel in a lot of this moisture largely out of the south and west. Some of these gusts getting to fairly high values, especially in places like Apalachicola, seeing a 16-mile-per-hour westerly wind, as well as 12 miles per hour out of the west here in town. And with this trough that's worked its way off to our north here, we've been beginning to see a bit of a breakdown in this ridging pattern. So a little bit more shower coverage, nothing really widespread, and it's been largely sunny all day off to our south and west in places like Liberty, Franklin, and Gulf counties. However, we're starting to see this lineup of showers just north of I-10 and just to the east of town in particular, which is why you're seeing that cooler temperature currently in Monticello. And some of these storms are actually packing a pretty serious lightning punch, so if you have to be driving out to the east on I-10 in the next hour or so, keep that in mind. Could be a bit of a messy commute out there. For us in town, not really looking too bad for the rest of the evening. Things are going to be calming down once we get to about 11 o'clock tonight here, setting up for a partly cloudy to mostly clear and warm night, much like we've been seeing all week here around town. Setting up for another warm morning tomorrow, warm start to the day, with more shower activity starting to flare up by the afternoon. We should see a little bit more coverage than what we've experienced earlier in the week, kind of continuing the trend that we've seen around town today. And really, even evidence of a potential squall line trying to work into parts of Alabama. That should not make it all the way here. But the threat of rain is still there, setting up for what's going to be a little bit of a drier weekend for us. As for tonight, mid-70s in most areas, especially off to our north in southern Georgia. Partly cloudy skies in Thomasville, Cairo, Camilla, and Colquitt. 75 degrees in all those locations. Still a chance of some scattered storms in the early evening hours around areas like Tallahassee and Monticello, setting up for a 92-degree day in Madison. Your day planner for tomorrow heating up into the lower to mid-90s yet again. And for that 7-day forecast, hot, hot, hot. 20% chance of rain on Sunday, 96-degree highs kicking back in for the weekend. So now I'm going to move on to talk about the southeast here. Temperatures currently in the southeast are nice and toasty, much like we have here in Tallahassee. 80 degrees in Atlanta with some rain cooling happening there. But look off at Texas, 102 degrees under partly cloudy skies all the way out in El Paso. 90s and triple-digit marks throughout much of northern and western Texas throughout the day today. And this is a bit of a dry heat in areas like Oklahoma City, Off towards Lubbock, of course, shout out to Lexi. 37-degree dew point in El Paso. But the mugginess with these southwesterly winds is really a big force for much of the region. 76-degree dew point in Montgomery. These are reflections of lower level moisture here, so that's why it's really feeling awfully hot out there, as these heat index values really indicate. We've seen a nice little swath of rain from northern Georgia down through parts of southeastern Mississippi, where we've actually had a couple of active severe thunderstorm warnings, especially near Mobile, Pascagoula, over towards Biloxi. 98-degree heat index currently in New Orleans as well, so some of the big metros really feeling nice and toasty. These winds curling out of the south, eventually off towards the east at these nice 10 to 15 mile per hour values in some spots. Here's that satellite and radar view. Areas of Mississippi up through the Memphis metro, even towards Paducah, Kentucky, seeing the threat of some severe weather here as we go throughout the rest of the evening, with the main threat being the potential for some damaging wind gusts. As for the rest of the forecast tonight, things will calm down a little bit, although some areas like Alabama up towards Huntsville and Birmingham could still be seeing some pretty decent rainfall into the overnight hours. Tomorrow morning should be looking pretty good for most of the southeast. Thankfully, the rain threat's going to be moving off just a little bit in southern Texas, where, of course, flooding has been a very big concern over the past couple of days. But the active weather really returns tomorrow for parts of Mississippi and Alabama, in particular, working their way into Georgia in the evening. Of course, shout out to Michael's family up in Atlanta. The golf forecast, if you're going to be out there, heating up into the upper 80s by about 3 o'clock here, setting up for another warm night or across much of the region with the threat of thunderstorms in the eastern part of the southeast. And as for tomorrow, the 80s and 90s, even some triple digits sticking around. Off to Dylan with the National.
Thank you very much, Jake. There's a lot to talk about in the Nationals, specifically in the watches and warnings category, but right now, temperature-wise, the eastern part is really the warm spot right now. Much of the East Coast into the 90s, but Phoenix right now, 109 degrees. That was the only area, Phoenix and Southern California and Nevada, were the only areas where it was actually warmer than Tallahassee yesterday with our 98-degree high. Today, though, they're much warmer than we are. Sitting at 94 right now, and you're seeing warm temperatures throughout, but something to look at is the moisture is really concentrated on this East Coast. You've had a lot of high heat temperatures over on the West Coast. There's a lot of dry area there, so that's going to set up for some fire weather we'll look on. But look at this moisture that's just situated over the entire east part of the U.S., all this green indicating where that moisture is. Our surface map, really cool to look at. You know that front we mentioned at the top of the show? Well, here is the low pressure system that's driving that front, driving a cold front, but it's not a very strong cold front, so we're not really going to see a big impact in terms of our temperatures here, but we are going to see dry conditions behind that. Look how little rain there is behind that frontal system. So that's going to set up for a nice weekend, but that brings the clear skies and the warmer temperatures for us. Looking more closely at that low pressure system, you have a flash flood warning west of Chicago. You do have a severe thunderstorm warning down into Tennessee, as Jake was pointing out. The main threat there, winds, but not anything too much past that. Lightning is possible with all these showers. You do see these little white dots. Those are the lightning strikes on our system. As we move down close east, we have a flash flood warning into parts of West Virginia. Shout out for their 155th birthday that was yesterday, so that's interesting. Down out in Brownsville and Corpus Christi in South Texas, you do have a flash flood watch as well that expires at 8 p.m. As we move farther out west, you do see these showers over in Idaho and Montana, but they are not that severe. You do have some lightning strikes with them, but nothing too crazy. And as we look at that, they do have a lot of rain coming into their area, so we're looking at flood aerial warnings and watches throughout the rest of tonight. And as we go down into the south, this is really the big story where all these clear skies are right now. That's where you're going to have these excessive heat watches and warnings. Look at this. All throughout southern Nevada, into parts of South California, and parts of Arizona under that excessive heat warning for the next couple of days. So they're going to see hot temperatures, and that's kind of the same story here, but they're seeing way hotter temperatures than us, up into the triple digits and the teens. It's really crazy, really hot out there, so stay hydrated for those folks out there. As we look at the Futurecast radar, you do see that low pressure system starts to move eastward and not as well defined. A lot of the showers falling apart as we get into tonight. The daytime heating really not increasing the potency of those showers, but as we get into tomorrow, things start to scatter out a little more, though you do have this nice line of storms north of Tallahassee into Alabama, firing back up into tomorrow and into Friday, and then things start to kind of clear out, and behind that front we'll see clear skies for the East Coast, and the West Coast will still see those clear skies. For tonight, clear skies on the West Coast and cloudy and rainy on the East. And then same story for tomorrow. It's clearer and warmer temperatures on the west and cooler in the east. Now let's send it off to Jake.
Thanks, Dylan. We're going to start to zoom back in as we close the last 5 minutes of the show. Here's a little College World Series forecast for any of you that might be interested in watching out in Omaha, Nebraska. Looking like a fairly good couple of days there for you. As far as Florida is concerned, a lot more sunshine than what we've been seeing in the last couple of weeks or so, although some areas, especially in northeastern Florida, are getting hit with rain pretty hard right now, like Orlando, down to 82 degrees, currently with cloudy skies, West Palm Beach down towards Miami through Fort Lauderdale. These are a lot of the areas seeing that shower and thunderstorm activity currently. The mugginess is not really going away, and it won't be for the really foreseeable future at all. 76-degree dew point in Miami. A lot of these winds coming in out of the west, affecting some of this moisture, or blowing in some of this moisture even further into the central part of the peninsula here. 73-degree dew point in Tampa, 77 in Gainesville. Here's the view of the winds right now, and this is actually setting up for a big reason for why the rainfall is distributed the way it is. These stronger westerly winds in the northern part of the Florida peninsula are really helping to trap the sea breeze related convection really off to the northeast part of the state. So areas like Jacksonville down towards Daytona Beach are getting hit pretty hard. Not quite as strong down to the south, so some of these storms have been able to work their way further inland over Lake Okeechobee, and we're going to see that right now in the satellite and radar. Again, a big line of storms here starting to move upwards here towards the I-4 corridor, not really quite getting into the Orlando area anytime soon necessarily. But areas like Jacksonville, Ponte Vedra Beach, down towards St. Augustine, a pretty healthy dosage of rain over the past couple of hours with some embedded lightning in some of these storms. A lot of the other parts of Florida, though, staying fairly quiet, as we'll look at now. Miami's starting to clear out a little bit up towards Fort Lauderdale. Shout out to the family, of course, in Weston right here at the intersection of 75 and I-595. A lot of the rain, really, the heaviest rain just north of Lake Okeechobee right now, although these are some of the lesser populated areas in the state of Florida. The Jacksonville area starting to see the rain wind down a little bit, although still a pretty healthy light rain in these areas, as well as the Florida Panhandle. Not too much activity going on, as we've alluded to a little bit earlier. Some showers east of Tallahassee, as well as getting over towards Walton County, as well as Okaloosa County. As far as the forecast is concerned for tonight, things will be clearing out, your typical summer Florida pattern here, and then we work into tomorrow morning, starting off with partly cloudy skies across most of the state, setting up for another fairly active afternoon across a wide swath of the state, especially in the Florida Panhandle, with the influence of that frontal system really working its way a little bit deeper. As far as tonight is concerned, 80s and 70s across much of the western peninsula here with the partly cloudy skies, and tomorrow warming back up to right about the 90-degree point throughout much of the state of Florida. To close the show, here's Dylan.
Right, it's 93 degrees outside. We're seeing cloudy conditions here at Tallahassee. This is actually, it's 94. Here is the current view from our FSU weather stem, seeing a strong wind of 11 miles per hour out of the west, bringing in a lot of that moisture we've been really seeing around, and temperatures throughout the entire region. Warmer on the western part, cooler on the eastern part. The showers, as Jake has mentioned, are really situated on this eastern part. On the western part, they haven't seen a lot of that rain, so they haven't cooled down as much. As for our dew points, though, 70s everywhere you look on this map. It is just moist everywhere. That's why we have high heat indices, because these dew points are really making it feel muggy and gross, and you're just going to sweat all over. So it's just gross and moist outside. So make sure you drink some water to stay replenished and hydrated. Winds dominantly out of the west, and that's bringing in all that moisture off the coast into our areas. Strong winds in Tallahassee and Apalachicola and Mariana at 11, 12, and 16 miles per hour. So things are really gusting up there. And here are these showers we mentioned. You can see most of them on the east coast, but a lot of them are starting to fizzle out as we get less of that daytime heating, really heating things up. And you do see some high upper level clouds on the eastern part, but we do have cloud cover throughout the entire region. Just because there isn't these big white clouds, you do still have lower level clouds from that lower level moisture covering our areas. As we look at our RPM forecast, going through tonight, you're going to see shower activity start to dissipate as we get into the nighttime hours. And then as we start to get into tonight, you very rarely see a shower up until about the morning. And for tonight, you're going to see temperatures drop down to 77 degrees and a wind only 5 miles per hour, so dropping down in our wind speeds. As we look at tomorrow, we start to fire up those storms again as we get into the afternoon, and right around lunchtime at 12:49 p.m. we should start seeing a lot of those showers come back into our area. We didn't see many today, but tomorrow it's going to be more widespread, so make sure you have the raincoat just in case, and more showers just sticking around throughout the evening tomorrow. As we look at tomorrow's forecast, 93 degrees, a 50% chance of rain, and our heat indices are going to be in about 100 degrees anywhere you look in the Big Bend region. We saw 118 today on a heat indice, so it's going to feel very, very, very hot, jumping into the 100-degree mark. As we look at our marine forecast, you're going out to the beach tomorrow trying to cool off from all this heat and moist temperatures. Well, you're looking at a nice 83 degrees. That is like a very warm bathtub. Wind speeds are 15 to 25 miles per hour, a little choppy of a sea. And for our golf forecast, if you're going out in Tallahassee, seeing nice temperatures in the morning, but in the afternoon you get the rain and the heating. And our 7-day forecast, looking at hot, hot, hot for the next 3 days, and then after that there's some more rain, but clear skies on Saturday and Sunday, so looking pretty nice for that. But if you want to follow us on social media, you're looking at FSU Weather on all social media platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. Have a great night.